Hi, I'm Mark Randusky. I am the Lifting Device Product Sales Manager for Gorbel, and today we're here to talk about the electric chain hoist offering from Gorbel, the GS Hoist. The GS Hoist is available from Gorbel in 1/8 ton all the way up to 5 tons. The entire product range is 460 volt or 230 volt, a 3-phase. We also have a small offering of 575 volt 3-phase hoist for the Canadian market. And we also have on the lower end up to 1 ton, we have a 115 volt single phase offering. We also have manual and push trolleys and all the accessories that go with the electric chain hoist. All of the 3-phase hoists, which include the 460, 230, and 575 volt hoists, are all H4 rated. The 115 volt single phase offering is H3 rated. So you'll hear a theme throughout the entire presentation, and we'll focus on the quality of this hoist offering. The GS hoist is a German designed, German manufactured hoist of very high quality. One of the things what you're going to notice right from the get-go is how quiet the operation of the hoist is, and I'll demonstrate that here. When I press this is a 2-speed hoist, slow speed, fast speed. You'll notice the quiet operation of this hoist. And that quiet operation is because of the quality of the design. One of the things that we'll talk about when we get into some of the details in this presentation is every gear, every machine part in this hoist is manufactured by the manufacturer to meticulous German standards and matched together. So that's one of the reasons you're going to get that real high quality hoist with that nice quiet sound to it. So now you've got a chance to see what the GS hoist is all about, and we talked a little bit about the whole product offering. Let's dig into some of the details of the hoist. So continuing on our theme of quality, we're going to start and look into some of the nuts and bolts of the hoist and look at some of the features and design benefits of the hoist itself. We're going to start with the gear train and talk a little bit about that, but I think you're really going to like what you see inside of this hoist. Here you have your gear train. Now this is a display cutaway, so these wouldn't of course be all shiny and new on the inside. This section here you see would be inside of an oil bath. But the thing I want to point out here is every gear that you see in your every shaft is actually machined by the manufacturer to very strict high quality tolerances, and the manufacturer actually they have a metallurgy lab, and they actually keep a sample on site of every batch of metal that comes in to be machined into gears, and they keep those on site for 10 years. And if you look on the edge of this gear, you'll actually see a serial number on each gear, and these gears can be traced back to that original lot of metal, tracing back to 10 years and more. So, and then one of the things we talked about the quality of the hoist and the fact that it's a very quiet operation. That's because all of these gears are manufactured on site to strict tolerances, and they're made to match each other. So these are not gears that are bought in the open market and matched together. These are manufactured specifically to go together in the configuration you see here. Because of the high quality and the precision matching of these gears, they don't flake metal particulate as you would see in a lower quality gear set. So that's one of the reasons why we have lifetime oil. This oil does not actually need to be changed until such time you need to rebuild the hoist. So for the life of the hoist, if you never need to open this gear case, you will never have to actually change the oil. One of the other reasons the oil is lifetime oil is because we give you this vent plug. So this vent plug would be installed in the top of the hoist when it's installed, and it vents the pressure from the gear case, and that makes the oil stay in there and everything runs nice and smoothly. So moving on to the front side of the front of the gear case here. So we're looking in under the shorter cover. We see in the front is power would come in here. You've got your terminal block. These are all spring lever lifted connections here. There's no screw terminals. They're very positive, easy insertion terminals in this block. That's for your power, for your control, and anything you have connected to this. Very, very easy to maintain. And that is another theme we'll talk about too here, is not only is this a high quality hoist, it is also a easy to service hoist. It's been designed that way. Okay, so to the right of the terminal block is the control transformer. The control transformer is what is going to feed your power for the control of your contactors, and that is fused on both the primary and the secondary. So that's your control transformer. We've got the brake here. Now the brake never needs to be maintained. It's inspect and replace, but under normal conditions, this will last the life of the hoist. So it's a DC brake. You can see here is a complete brake here. You'll see there's a spline shaft right here, and then that spline attaches to the end of this piece right here, which we'll talk more about this, but this is the gear that brake would go over, and this is easily removable. There are three pieces of hardware. You take the pieces of hardware out, you move this, you pull this off the spline. You would have to remove the cover, of course, and then there's just two wires that go back to this terminal block, and that's as easy as it is. So once you get into the hoist, it's just a few minutes to change out a brake. What you see forward of the brake, this is actually their clutch adjustment. We'll talk more about the clutch and the brake system, but what ends up happening is this should not be mistaken for the brake adjustment. This is for your clutch, so no adjustment whatsoever is necessary ever on the brake. You simply check the air gap here, which will get wider as this brake material wears over time. Once that air gap gets beyond a certain specification that's listed in your manual, you just replace it. Very, very easy. So one thing I want to talk about here while we're still on the front side of the hoist is the brake design, which is an innovation in the manufacture of the GS hoist. This was manufactured decades ago, and you'll see this in more modern hoists, but again, this is the hoist that's had it the longest and that first had this feature, which is the brake being on the load side of the equation. So with this brake on the gear train or load side, it doesn't matter what happens to your motor. Your motor could stop, anything could happen, and this side that might otherwise result in a load drop if the brake were actually mounted to the motor side, but since it's on the gear train side, anything that would happen with your clutch or your motor is protected by the brake being on this side. So it's an important safety feature. So you'll notice here, this inside the hoist, the clutch this assembly would be just about like this. So this piece right here is this section here. So this what you're seeing here is inside your gear train, and that would rotate, and this is your slip clutch. And then you'll notice this star washer. There's a Lovejoy type coupling that couples the motor to your shaft and your slip clutch here. And again, this is your clutch adjustment. You tighten this to make this clutch tighter or looser. So to remove this motor, it's very simple. If you ever had to, you would take this screw off and this screw off, and two on the bottom, and then this would pull right off, and then that other side of the coupling would be here. So there's nothing to it's that simple. It fits back in just like that, and then there's this insulator in between, and that's another thing that keeps vibration down and makes for a nice quiet operation. And that is a very durable insulating material that just keeps the metal sides of that coupling from making metal to metal contact, making it a very good, quiet hoist and a good design. Okay, so while we're still talking up here in the front of the hoist, here is the pocket wheel. And you'll notice that pocket wheel is a 5-pocket wheel. And there's something else to note here is this downhold and also the chain guide are both made of a fiberglass reinforced nylon material, and that's this very high durability. And you'll notice, and we'll talk about this when we take the other hoist apart, but you'll notice these are the limit switches, and they are actually not, these are not the switches themselves, these are limit switch actuators, and we'll talk about why that's important in a few minutes. But this downhold is this piece right here, and that match set like this completely encompasses that chain throughout the whole travel through that pocket wheel. So that's it really protects the chain a lot, and you'll notice unlike other metal or steel chain guides, this is not going to wear your chain. This is made to be a sacrificial piece, very highly durable, but minimal chain wear or no chain wear through the actual chain guide. One thing I will note here is you'll notice the hoist body itself is all high strength cast aluminum, and the motor is also an aluminum framed motor. It's all copper windings, not copper clad aluminum like you'll see in some other lower quality hoists. That's important because you don't get a lot of heat buildup like you do with copper clad aluminum. These are pure copper windings. Very high quality, all aluminum design. Both the gear case and the motor being of all aluminum makes them lighter and they dissipate heat better. And then this is all Class F insulation in the motor, and it is also totally enclosed and fan cooled, and this is your fan on the back side here. Finally, on the top side here, we'll talk about this contactor section, your contactor and limit switch and brake rectifier, but I think it's better shown over on this hoist here. So I've, of course, taken those, loosened the bolts before we got ready to go here. And you'll notice here, you have in one nice module here, you have all your contactors. Now, one thing to note is every GS hoist has a mainline contactor, a true mainline contactor. So every hoist comes with an E-stop push button, and every E-stop is tied to a true mainline contactor. There's other hoists out there that don't have actual mainline contactors. Sometimes you'll see they're just simply using the E-stop to break the control line, but we're actually making and breaking a mainline contactor with that E-stop. So you notice here, the majority of our hoist offering is all Group Schneider contactors. So widely available, widely recognized, and you can either buy them from Gorbel, we have plenty of stock, or you can buy them at your local electrical supply house. Some of the smaller hoist bodies do have a little more specific contactor, but we have those readily available in plenty of quantities here at Gorbel, and we can ship them out to you anytime. So one thing you'll notice here is these contactors can be replaced individually if they were ever needed to be replaced, but also you'll see there's two pieces of hardware on either side of this module. You could actually replace this entire module in one fell swoop, and then you would actually replace all your contactors, you replace your brake rectifier, and you'd replace your limit switches all at one shot. So that's actually a service strategy. If you wanted to do that, the service techs could actually have these available on the trucks, change them out wholesale, and then rebuild these back at the shop, or they could order the individual pieces and just replace them. So again, for serviceability, you've got lots of options. And also note that all of our spare parts are very, very reasonably priced. You'll never get a quote on a simple chain guide or a contactor or anything in the hoist that's going to be a third or half the cost of your total hoist. So we focus on being fair, reasonable, have a great high quality hoist that's very, very serviceable. So one of the other things we want to talk about, and I mentioned it before when we were talking about our chain guide, is these two limit switches here are physically the limit switches. Now, if you move in close, you can actually see as I press the limit switches, and this is where the chain bag would normally attach. And then this here is the lower limit switch here. And as I press this, you'll see this actuator, which again is only the actuator from this chain guide, stainless steel heavy duty spring. That stainless steel actuator is actuating the spring here. However, and I've already removed 3 of these screws, I'll take this out and I'll drop down the chain guide. It's this simple to remove the chain guide. And then you'll notice these actuators are not the physical limit switch. So your limit switches are very well protected inside the hoist body, but yet can be replaced just by removing the back cover. So you don't need to break into the chain guide to replace the limit switch. They're readily accessible here and replaceable from here, but actuated by the plungers on the stainless steel plungers on the chain guide. So again, very serviceable, very durable, great design. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the accessories, but before I do, I wanted to talk to you about this. This is a standard twist lock connector. One of the things you get with the GS hoist is a twist lock connector, and you'll always get the mating half as well. So one of the real big benefits of this is this side is always going to be wired. So whenever you get a hoist, even if you buy a standalone hoist, with no crane system, you're going to get this end wired all the time. If it was a standalone hoist in a box, you would get the female side of this connector in the box and you wire it yourself to whatever you're going to put the hoist on. However, if you order this hoist with a Gorbel product, you will get the other end of this wired to the electrical festooning on the actual crane system. So that will come wired as well. So then when you go to install it, you simply click the two together and there's no extra wiring to be done. Okay, you'll see here this hoist is actually a single fall or a single chain hoist. Each hoist body can be configured as double fall or single fall. This hoist right here, you'll see as this, and all hoists have this nice, they come with a nice latch hook, very sturdy. And then you'll notice on the top of the hook block, there is this rubber piece, hard rubber, and that's what it will actually connect with your limit switch actuators. So you've got a nice hard rubber piece here that is going to be hitting that upper limit. So on some other competitor hoists, this rubber is a softer rubber and over time will indent and make it so the upper limit switches or the lower limit switches might not work. This we're not going to have that problem with. And then what we have here is your lower limit. This gets mounted on the bitter end of the end of your chain inside, and this would be inside the bag. So when you come up and you reach the end of your chain travel, this is what's going to connect with your actuator for your lower limit. Okay, and again, a nice hard, durable rubber that will not indent over time. And then speaking of this being in a chain bag, you'll notice we have here your standard canvas chain bag for no additional charge. We also have the plastic bucket container that you can opt for it. So it's either the canvas bag or the chain container, same price. Okay, I'd like to talk now about our easy change suspension plates. So one thing you'll notice is I've got this pin that I've already removed here, and this would go in this location right here. You can see it's just an easy cotter pin type of arrangement. And then and I've already removed the bottom pin here, but the way these remove are very easy. Once you pull the pins out, these will simply slide out. Now I did mention to you that each hoist body can be configured for either single fall or double fall, single chain, double chain. And if you have one to change the center of gravity of the hoist for one versus the other, you can simply switch the plate. You can also switch out these different suspension plates to match the different trolleys. So for our Gorbel workstation cranes and workstation jibs, this single hole suspension plate is pretty much the standard because our hoist clevis, the trolley clevis will go right through this hole very nicely. Then you have the double hole suspension plate. So if you have one of our Gorbel I-beam trolleys, and we'll go over those in a minute here, you would use this to get the load bars of that trolley will go through these two holes. And as you can see, that same hoist plate can fit this way or this way, depending on which way you're going to go with it. There is another suspension option, which is a standard hook mount, and that can also be purchased as well. So the benefit of these different quick change suspension plate options is, and again, we've got the single hole, the double hole, or the standard hook mount, is say your maintenance department you have multiple hoists in the facility, you've got some on I-beams, some on workstation cranes, some are hook mounted. Maintenance can now take one hoist body and simply switch out the plates per the application. So you have a lot of variability there, a lot of flexibility in servicing your hoist or changing hoists out from the ones you might have in your shop. Okay, so I want to talk now about the pennant a little bit. We have selected a really high quality standard Schneider electric pennant. Again, every pennant has an e-stop on it. That e-stop does, again, directly control a mainline contactor. So again, every hoist has a mainline contactor. Then you have your up. This happens to be a 2-speed hoist button or hoist pennant. So you've got the two up and down detents. And then you'll notice we've selected a very high quality O-Flex molded double stream relieved pennant cable, and it's stream relieved here both bottom and top. So on the hoist side and the pennant side, double stream relieved with this nice clean molded external stream release. And if you turn this over and pull the back off, You'll notice it's very easy to work on inside, lots of room, nice and clean. And you'll notice that these are all standard Schneider Electric switch blocks, which would be locally available, making it easy to service once again. So again, we think a lot about the serviceability, a lot about the quality of this hoist. So I hope you're as excited about what you've seen of the hoist already as we are. We think it's a great offering, and we're very excited to bring this offering to the U.S. market. So let's talk a little bit about the trolleys that I mentioned earlier. So in addition to the GS hoist offering, we have both motorized and manual trolleys. I'll start with a motorized version. They're basically the same whether they're manual or motorized in the way they're set up. We have multiple different size wheel plates, and we have multiple different size load bars to fit the size of the beam and the capacity. You'll also see if it's a motorized trolley, you'll have the motor over here, and you'll have the geared wheels on the motor side. And these also, all trolley components, all the trolleys are assembled, designed, manufactured in Germany. So again, you have that real high quality German design, German manufacturing. Really, really great trolley. So if we move over here to the manual trolley, and the first thing you'll notice is this is a little bit smaller. As I mentioned, even with the motorized, we have different wheel plates based on different capacity. So with this one, notice this is a manual trolley, smaller load bars, and again, you can have different size load bars to get your beam, and then you would adjust the number of washers on each side before you bolt everything together to adjust for your beam width, and all that is specified in the manual for installation. And then if I want to show you a safety feature here, a built-in safety feature, every trolley wheel plate actually has a built-in drop lug. So every trolley has the drop lug on it. So on the very off chance that anything did happen with any of these wheels or your trolley, this drop lug would be there to make sure that that would not drop and cause a problem. So again, built-in drop lugs with every hoist, either motorized or manual. One thing I did want to show you as well is we talked about that double hole suspension plate. So with a trolley, this double hole suspension plate would fit together with your load bars. I've got this kind of half disassembled, but they would go back together like this. Put your spacers back on per your rail size, like so, and then your wheel plate would go up back on. You put your bolts and washers, of course, on the outside, tighten everything down, and that would be the way your trolley would go together. So easy assembly, and then again, this would drop right in with those two pins like we talked about into your suspension plate on your trolley. So real easy assembly and quick change for your double hole, single hole, or hook mount suspension plates.